The following is a demonstration of the Galigeo product from Galigeo for IBM Cognos business intelligence software. The demo we're going to be looking at today deals with the pharmaceutical industry and a potential analysis of a certain type of ophthalmology providers, along with a geographic distribution of high potential areas versus low potential areas based on provider type. So as you can see, we are in the Cognos dashboard. We've got a list of Cognos reports that have already been set up. We'll click on potential analysis to launch the Galigeo demo. As it's loading, we see on the left this sort of standard Cognos report listing zones, a ratio of population over 70 years old to certified medical specialists, which will form the analytical foundation of our potential, which is the ratio of the population over 70 years old to the certified medical specialists. We'll see this is for the country of France. At the higher level, we'll zoom out a little, we are at the country level at the department level. So we're seeing sort of patterns and clusters of areas where we have a low potential, to areas where we have a high potential, to areas where there's actually no potential. So on a grand scale, we're seeing general patterns of where we have a population greater than 70 years old to certified medical specialists defined as our potential. And we can see on a geographic level where there's areas that should be business process directed towards, areas that need to be addressed, and also areas where there is what we consider a desert of analysis. So this might be an area to direct a specific campaign towards. Just the general overall interface here, we've got the Cognos report, the Cognos data, a sort of a general legend. We've got a dashboarding, widgets and tools along the top, and then we've got sort of the mapping interface. We've got a legend, we can minimize, we can close, we can do the various sort of web mapping tools. You can pan left and right, you can change to different types of background based maps, from a satellite to a hybrid with labels to a more planar to street maps. You've got your standard zoom in, zoom out along a sort of scale bar. You can also do that with various buttons, zoom in on a certain area based on a block, and we can go back to the initial extent. What we'll do now is run a little bit of the sort of interactive piece between the real power of the Galigeo application by tying into the Cognos business intelligence data. So we've got data that is based on individual zones in the potential. So if we want to say we'll zoom in on an area, a specific zone, and we will run the Cognos report, we'll see now that we'll just be looking at a specific geographic area, as well as being able to see data in greater detail based on the smaller area that we'll be looking at. So as you can see, instead of seeing the entire country, now we've got just one zone, one department down in the south of France. We can now zoom in from various web mapping tools, and we can, as we zoom in, we'll see a different degree of data become available. As you can see, the legend is dynamically changing. So now at a certain scale factor, we're seeing greater detail of data. We're seeing the same potential, but now this is on the UGA level, which is more of a sales territory level. So we're seeing a little bit more of the interactive user data added to the business intelligence data to be able to see how the potential at a finer grained geographic data level, as well as the number of specialists, interacts on a scale across the map. So we'll see we've got, you can sort of, all the same controls are there, the pan in, the pan out, and the zoom in and the zoom out. You can click on an area, you can click on say UGA here, and get a little bit more data from data that comes from the business intelligence software. This is all Cognos specific data here. And then we've got even data that comes from the cartographic map service. So you can see you've got a wealth of data that just sort of attribute data that comes along by clicking on the map in various locations. One interesting thing, you can obviously still change to the various um, base maps. And you've got this more button that actually corresponds to sort of the legend up here of the different types of practitioners in the area. We zoom in, we can see in even greater detail now. We'll start to see the different types of practitioners in this area. See, you've got general practitioners, you've got diagnosticians, you've got certified specialists. And one of the goals of this demonstration is to sort of identify areas or in which there is a one metric, say potential. There's a high potential of getting a business process directed towards that area that would yield the best benefits, as well as targeting certain types of medical professionals that aren't certified medical specialists in a certain treatment, to be able to see those providers in an area where, say, there is a high potential, and to be able to target directed action towards those providers, to further identify and to further qualify and certify those for this type of treatment. So you see, we've got just sort of your standard mapping now. We can do a little more advanced. We can change some of the thematics that you see through the Thematic Manager. Bring that up, and you see we've got all these sort of interlocking windows that can be minimized and closed. So we've got a legend that we can sort of close. The Thematic Manager, as I bring it up, is in charge of sort of what you see on the thematic. So if I want to change, we're at the UGA level. If I want to change the potential to just a different sort of thematic color scheme, that might make a little bit more sense depending on what I'm looking at. So instead of a green, I wanted this to be more of a yellow, and I wanted to do a color wheel between yellow and red. We can apply that color wheel across. We can change the transparency level, so maybe we'll say a little less transparent. We'll update this, and we see the map updates on the fly. You can save that. You can save the view for the next time you log into the application. Now we're looking at the number of the sort of graduated symbols of certified medical specialists. Maybe at the red level doesn't come across as well, doesn't communicate effectively, so we can change that. We'll see now we've got sort of a proportional symbol. You can sort of change the different sizes. We'll go to more of a blue data. And this is all based on sort of what you really are trying to show. As you can see, you've got sort of now a completely different visual thematic. Very easy on the fly. In a few mouse clicks, you're seeing a different window into your data. So some of the real power of WebGeo, besides just sort of the thematics, is the ability to drill down on specific areas, whether they're contiguous or they're disjoint, to get greater information that comes out of the Cognos data sets. So we'll do a selection on a couple of these UGAs to see really what we've got. So we've got sort of a number of different selection tools. You can use a polyline, a freehand line, a polygon, circular, or individual points. So we'll do a couple of individual points. I'll select, some areas of interest to me. Let's see. All right, this one is a low potential. Let's pick that. Now I'll do another. Let's do a low potential here. So I selected that one as well. If I click on this advanced mode, you'll see that we're seeing all the different business intelligence data that comes from the Cognos reports and the Cognos data sets right there. I'll click on another one. We'll do this bigger, larger one that the potential's in a good area. So now you see you've got 3 selections. Now we can do various things with these. You can export just this tabular data to a CSV. You can zoom in on individual selections. You can invert the selections to select everything else except for those. But I think the most powerful piece here, you can merge these 3, say selection 1, 2, and 3. Click this button, it'll merge those together. You see it merge those together. Now we've got that as one contiguous selection. You can name the selection, we'll say, areas of interest. You can change the color, sort of any sort of standard mapping type thematic thing that you could do earlier. say we want to make this a nice bright. We'll see those nows are bright. But the most powerful piece of this selection process is the launching of the geo reports. And there's an interface here to launch it on the selection where you can merge the various selections into one. There's also an interface where you can launch geo reports through the regular widget. And there's another interface I'll show you in a minute. But if we launch a geo report, this is another, it's going to launch a Cognos report. This is now a list of the specific medical providers in these areas that we've selected. This is going to launch now another Cognos report that comes up with a form and sort of the Cognos prompted data value interface where you can select different types of providers. Click OK. You're going to basically now launch a customized Cognos report that deals with the specific providers that are in these geographic areas, as you can see. So in the selected areas that we've got, these three areas, we've now identified and targeted these types of providers, so that we can see, to direct some action towards if we want to make those certified specialists or not. So that's a sort of a major piece of functionality where you can do an analysis on the geographic area, but then also tailor it and get your BI data specifically for those areas, which is the main sort of goal of doing this. So we'll see, now we're back in the interface of the selection. We can sort of clear out the selections we were just running. And just clear those out. We're back to sort of the standard. Got our legend. Other ways of launching geo reports, you can just click on an individual one and launch it, or you can go through the geo reports widget. Sort of depending on what selections you're making and what information you're really trying to see. You can see, you can run it on all, you can run it on a subsection. It's really the power of the analyst that determines what you would like to see. There's a bookmarking feature, so you can go to certain areas really easily. This is one I created that, is a little bit further out. It's scaled in, it's scaled out, just sort of canned in there. The ISO analyst is actually a very powerful feature for determining areas of interest along a certain user-defined point. If you want to see things along, say, a 15, 20, 50 mile or kilometer area around a certain point you decide. So you see, so this is doing isometric analyst as sort of as the crow flies, we say, around a specific area. So we'll click on an area that's of interest. We'll say, right here, put a little map, a little pin on the map that gives, say we want to do a 5, 10, and 30 kilometer buffers around these. We'll compute. It's going to compute the buffers around these areas. And as soon as it's done, we'll see now we've got various things we can log in, zoom into, and we can see, based on a specific location on the map, we can see now additional data that comes within the analysis based on the geography. You can also go in and I can select just the zones for that, for the 10 kilometers. As you see, it sort of has done a dynamic selection on just those areas that are intersecting within the 10 kilometers. And of course, we can create a selection from that. We've got the 10 to 30 kilometer. We can launch the geo report right through the standard interface that we saw. We're going to load the Cognos prompted report. We're going to we'll just select the diagnostician. Now you see, just in these areas on the map, what we've seen. Be able to tie in the business data, the business intelligence data from the wealth of knowledge in the Cognos reports, to be able to specifically determine, based on geography, based on distance, based on a user-defined area, to do some deeper level analysis. So that's pretty much the functionality that comes out of the box with WebGeo for Cognos. You see, we'll just reset that. We'll just zoom out to the level, the countrywide level, close down some of our windows. We'll see, we can run the report again on the entire country. and we'll just sort of come back to the start of the demo. So you see what we've seen is we've seen the ability of to provide a spatial and geographic analytical layer on top of the business intelligence layer, as well as to make decisions on the business intelligence data based on the geographical inputs, the geographical analysis. This is the combination of sort of the business intelligence Cognos data mixed with the spatial analysis and cartographic analysis of the WebGeo product that really is the power, adds to the adding the where factor and the power of the analysis. Um, Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.